said that these killings were as a result of laws being passed by states. Secondly, the defense minister said that these killings were also as a result of the blockage of routes through which these herders were to move their cattle. And we continued to look at all these explanations. Mr. President, yesterday in London, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria and the President of Nigeria said that these killings were as a result of the people who were trained by the late Muammar Gaddafi. And so, implying that these people who are doing these killings in Nigeria are invaders from outside of Nigeria. And if he says that they are invaders from outside of Nigeria, what it means is that it now validates my last point on this floor. When a commander-in-chief says that he cannot take care of invaders invading Nigeria, why is he still a commander-in-chief? Why do we still continue to indulge? Why do we still continue to indulge this president that everywhere goes along to tell everybody outside this country that he is totally incompetent? Because it's obvious.
Senator Abaribe, I don't, you are finished. You are finished. Senator Leader.
What is this?
Mr. President. Mr. President.
You can't finish. You can't finish.
No.
You cannot finish. You cannot finish. You cannot finish.
Mr. President. Mr. President, Mr. President, I come under order 53.6, no, 53.7, 53.7.
Leader, go ahead.
With your permission, please.
Finish what?
Please.
Leader, go ahead.
Distinguished colleagues, Order 53.7 reads, it shall be out of order to use offensive and insulting language. Mr. President, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is the leader of this country and deserves the respect and courtesy of this chamber and those of us in it. Mr. President, I was once there as an opposition senator. There was never a time that we called the president at that time, who was a PDP president, an insult, because this is our institution. And if we don't conduct ourselves with dignity and respect, nobody will respect us. So I want to urge my colleague there to immediately withdraw his statement and apologize. Hold on, and apologize to this chamber.
Senator Abaribe. Senator Abaribe, I think we need to be guided on the language and the quorum that we use. With all due respect, we can make our points without using words that truly are offensive and not acceptable. So before you rule, he has made a point, and I think you are an elder statesman, and I want you to be guided accordingly before I now rule on it.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am very well guided by you, and I say, Mr. President, that there are words that there are no other alternatives to. And Mr. President, what I did was to interpret the words by Mr. President in London, and I juxtaposed it with the explanations here. So now what it tells me is that there is a conflict.
No. Senator Barribe, Senator Barribe, just let me just before. Senator Barribe, you use certain words that truly are not acceptable, and that's where we are. So it's for you. Go on. So I can give you a chance to whether I rule on it.
Fine, Mr. President. If any word I used is misunderstood, I apologize. All I'm saying is simple. The heads of security in Nigeria made several different explanations for killings of our citizens. And there is a Will you wait now? Wait now, let me finish.
Senator Barribe, let me rule on this point of order. Senate leader, no. Senate leader came with a point of order. Now, so, yeah. So, leader came with a point of order, and I'm happy that you have complied with that in the apology. Now, can you now close your remarks and please be guided? You can make your point, but you must ensure that greater respect is given to what you say. All right. What is your point? Okay, point of order.
It's important. That's why we are here. We must guide the Senate. We must be seen to be doing whatever is humanly possible to guide this hallowed chamber. And I'm proceeding under Order 53, Rule 13, and then 54 read together. And with your permission, sir.
Go ahead.
The conduct of the President, Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, senators, judges, or the performance of judicial function by other persons shall not be raised except upon a substantive motion. For the purpose of this paragraph, a substantive motion does not include a motion for adjournment. And then for 54, sir, says, any senator deviating from the provisions of this rule may be immediately called to order by the President of the Senate or the chairman, or by a senator raising on a good point of order. A senator raising to a point of order shall simply direct attention to the point that he desires to bring to the notice and submit to the President of the Senate. This is what he says. The issue is that you cannot even raise any issue regarding the conduct of the President by motion.
Thank you, Deputy Leader, for that point of order. And my distinguished colleagues, you will agree with me that that control order is sustained. Point of order, Senator Dino Milai.
Mr. President, my very respected colleagues, Dino Milai, Kogi West. Mr. President, I draw inspiration from Order 43 of the Rules of the Senate. And Mr. President, so that we don't leave with an impression that is wrong, you had earlier ruled, Mr. President, that the chairman of Petroleum Upstream look into the issue of the conflict as regards the oil discovery. But I want to say that as a senator representing Kogi in this chamber, that my electric brother and friend, Senator Utazi, is totally wrong, and that my soft-spoken senator from Anambra State is totally wrong. The oil is from Ibaji local government in Kogi State, and it is wholly owned by Kogi State. And I want the chairman upstream to take note. Thank you very much.
Senator Dino Milai, that is exactly what the Senate chairman on upstream is meant to be looking at. So I have to rule you out of order. Leader of the Senate.
Order please. Settle down, order please.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Science and Technology on the Chemical Weapons Prohibition Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Robert Boniface, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Boniface.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Robert Ajayi, Senator representing Ondo North Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the report of the Committee on Science and Technology Provision Bill 2018 SB 585. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Polka.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion moved by my colleague.
Which motion is that? No. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Science and Technology on the Chemical Weapons Prohibition Bill 2018 SB 585. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Boniface, come and lay your report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the second business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the screening of Mr. Anthony Okechukwu Ojukwu for appointment as the Executive Secretary, National Human Rights Commission. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator David Omaru, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator David Omaru, Niger East.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is David Omaru. I represent Niger East Senatorial District. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the confirmation of nomination of Mr. Anthony Okechukwu Ojukwu as the Executive Secretary so move.
Senator Mohammed Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mohammed Hassan, Yobe South Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion that the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters be for the confirmation of nomination of Mr. Anthony Okechukwu Ojukwu as the Executive Secretary, National Human Rights Commission. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the confirmation of nomination of Mr. Anthony Okechukwu Ojukwu as Executive Secretary, National Human Rights Commission. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator David Moro, come and lay the report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished and respected colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Public Accounts on the investigation of all subsidy monies spent by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, without recourse to the National Assembly. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Matthew Orogede, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Matthew Orogede.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Matthew Orogede. I represent the good people of Edo South Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate will receive the report of the Committee on Public Accounts on the investigation of all subsidy monies spent by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, without recourse to the National Assembly. I so move.
Senator Barra Jibrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barra Jibrin. I stand to second the motion, ably moved by my colleague and friend, Senator Matthew from Edo State. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Public Accounts on the investigation of all subsidy money spent by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, without recourse to the National Assembly. Those in favor that receive the report say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Matthew Orogede, come and lay the report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Joint Committee on Public Accounts and Power, Steel Development and Metallurgy on the monumental fraud in the power sector. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Matthew Orogede, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Matthew Orogede.
Once again, thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Matthew Orogede. I present Edo South Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do receive the report of the Joint Committee on Public Accounts and Power, Steel Development and Metallurgy on the monumental fraud in the power sector. I so move.
Senator Abukiari.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Abubakar Kyari, representing Borno North. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Joint Committee on Public Accounts and Power, Steel, Development and Metallurgy on the monumental fraud in the power sector. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Joint Committee on Public Accounts and Power, Steel, Development on the metallurgy and the monumental fraud in the power sector, those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Matthew Rugidi, come and lay your report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President CNC for the confirmation of the nomination of the following persons for appointment as members of the National Population Commission in accordance with Section 154, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. The names are 1. Johnny Wabush, Abia, Dr. Clifford T.O. Zira, Adamawa, Mr. Chidi Christopher Ezeke MNI, Anambra, Barrister Isa Audu Buratai, Borno, Navy Captain Charles Iam Ogwa, retired, Cross River, Sir Richard Odibo, Delta, Okereke Darlington Onobichi, Ebonyi, Mr. Eddie Olusegun Ayejina, Edo, Ajike Eze, Enugu, Honorable Abubakar Mohammed Namburam, Gombe, Professor Uba SF Nwabwe, Imo, Dr. Malik Mohammed Durungwa, Kaduna, Suleiman Ismaila Lawal, Kano, Professor Jimo Habibat Isa Kogi, Dr. Saadu Aila Alanam, Kwara, Nasir Isa Kwara, Adamawa, Barrister Aliyu Datti, Niger, Yeye Mrs. Sheyi Aderinokun Olashanya, Ogun, Prince Dr. Olana Diran Gavi Inyantam, Ondo, Senator Mudashiru Oyatinde Hussein, Oshun, Mrs. Cecilia Asun Dapoy, Plateau, Dr. Ipalibo McDonald Harry, Rivers, and last but not the least, Saleh S. Sai, Taraba. Mr. President, very distinguished and respected colleagues, the purpose of this motion on the order paper is for the request of Mr. President CNC to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the request of Mr. President CNC be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, on the confirmation of the nomination of the following persons as aforestated or mentioned by the leader for appointment as members of the National Population Committee in accordance with provisions of Section 1541 of the 1994 Constitution, for possible referral to the relevant committee. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate
Yes, Senator Blay. President. The name under number 16, Nasir Isakwara, is from Nasarawa, not Adamawa. Nasarawa, typographical error. Nasarawa, not Adamawa, please.
Thank you. Secretary, I take note of that. Yes, and Voucher.
Mr. President, the last name from Taraba is spelled Sani, not Sahani. It's Saleh, Sule, Sani, S-A-N-I.
This was the way it was spelled from the communication from the president. I'm sure that's why. So we have to stick to the communication. In the case of Nasra, the letter from the president said Nasra. This must have been a typo on our own part. So, distinguished colleagues, those in favor of that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. President on the confirmation of nomination of the following persons for appointment as members of the National Population Commission in accordance with provision of Section 1541 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, as the name as listed by the leader with the amendment that Nasir Isa acquires from Nasarawa. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. This is referred to the Committee on National Identity Card and National Population Commission for further legislative work and report back in 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition in respect of a complaint from Senator Dino Melaye against Senator Obe Omoigigi for allegedly insinuating through a press conference that the amendment to the Independent National Electoral Commission Act 2010, Amendment Bill 2018, was targeted at President Muhammad Buhari GCFR. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Samuel Anyawu to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the report of the committee.
Senator Samuel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Samuel Anyawu. I represent East Imo State. I move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of a complaint from Senator Dino Melaye against Senator Omar Agege for allegedly insinuating through a press conference that the amendment to the Independent National Electoral Commission Act 2010, Amendment Bill 2018, was targeted at President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator John Eno.
Mr. President, my name is John Owen Eno, Cross River Central. Mr. President, I second the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of a complaint from Senator Dino Melaye against Senator Obeomo Agege for allegedly insinuating through a press conference that amendment to the Independent National Electoral Commission Act 2010, Amendment Bill 2018 was targeted at Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of a complaint for Senator Dino Melaye against Senator Obeomo Agege for allegedly insinuating through a press conference that the amendment of the Independent National Electoral Commission Act 2010 Amendment Bill 2018 was targeted at President Muhammad Buhari. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Samayo, come and lead report. Senator Samayan, present your report.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Colleagues. Once again, my name is Senator Sam Anyawu. I represent Imo East Imo State. Mr. President, with kind permission, the Senate will recall that on Tuesday, 20th February 2018, rising on orders 40 and 15, Senator Dino Melaye Kogi West drew the attention of the Senate to an alleged insinuation by Senator Ofio Omagege through a press conference that the adoption of the conference report, which amended the Independent National Electoral Commission Act 2010 on Wednesday, 14 February 2018, was targeted at President Muhammad Buhari, Israel, and urged the Senate to look into the matter. In line with Order 41.3, the Senate referred the matter to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions for detailed investigation. I would like to go to item 4.1, the complainant, Senator Dino Melaye. Testifying before the committee, Senator Dino Melaye stated as follows. 1, that he was disturbed that the aftermath of the adoption by the Senate on Wednesday, 14 February 2018, of the conference report on the Independent National Electoral Commission Act 2010, Amendment Bill 2018, and the insinuations therefrom had not only portrayed him in bad light, but also had a very serious negative effect on him as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 2, that the address of Senator Ofio Omagege on channels, television, and NTA same day, alluding that the adoption of the report on the bill was targeted at President Muhammad Buhari, GSFR, had portrayed him as if he were in an institution that works against the interests of one man, which was against the oath he swore on the 9th June 2015, that he was going to do good to all manner of men. That he also alleged that more than 50 senators were against the amendment. 3, that the statement of Senator Ofio Omagege was malicious, unfounded, and aimed at smearing the reputation of the Senate as an institution, and improved on his privilege as a senator. 4, that he labored so hard for President Muhammad Buhari to emerge as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2015. And 5, that if the decision of the Senate, which he belonged, could be teleguided and skewed against a particular person, then there was no democracy. He requested that the Senate should look into the matter and investigate if the adoption of the conference report on INEC Act 2010 Amendment Bill was truly targeted at Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief. 4.2, the respondent, Senator Ofio Omagege. Responding, Senator Ofio Omagege said, 1, that he would not be able to make any presentation before the committee because he had taken the matter to court. 2, that the charges made against him by Senator Dino Melaye were criminal in nature and that he should not be made to open up. That the matter be postponed until it is discharged by the court. Observations and findings. After carefully examining the documents before the committee and hearing of the complainant and respondent, the committee observed as follows. 1, that after Senator Ofio Omagege had admitted guilt on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday, 21st February 2018, by apologizing to the leadership and the entire Senate, the committee was surprised that he changed his mind and took the Senate President and the Senate to court. 2, that as an insightful, effective, and forthright member of the committee up to that hour, this action infuriated all the members of the committee who fired questions from all directions at him. 3, that when he was asked if his court action came before or after the matter was referred to the committee, and whether a court action could stop the Senate from carrying out its responsibility, he kept mute, but the committee noted that his court action came after the referral and his apology. 4, that after the distinguished senator had apologized, he and Senator Abdullahi Adamu published an advert in the Vanguard newspaper with the heading Parliamentary Support Group, Senate for President Muhammad Buhari, suggesting that the Senate was pluralized, and that 5, that the committee is of the opinion that the action by Senator Ofio Omagege of going to court after apologizing to the Senate was totally unacceptable, especially as an experienced lawyer and member of the committee who is conversant with the modus operandi of the same, and therefore must be punished to serve as a deterrent to others who might contemplate taking the Senate to court over its internal matters. Recommendation: having carefully and fully exhausted all sides to the matter and the inherent implications therefrom, for today, and the future of the National Assembly, the committee recommends as follows. 1. That the Senate of Omagege be suspended for 181 legislative days from the date this resolution is taken, to serve as a deterrent to other senators who might contemplate taking the Senate to court over its power to regulate or determine its internal matters. In conclusion, Mr. President, the committee want to thank the Senate President and the Senate for giving the opportunity to serve. Thank you, Mr. President.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished and respected colleagues, I stand up to air my personal opinion about this report. Mr. President, you are today, by the grace of the Almighty Allah, the leader of the National Assembly, the President of the Senate, the rest of us are leaders and senators alike. Mr. President, it is always your wish and ours that we treat this chamber as a family. That when any member of our family errs, we call that member of the family to order. Mr. President, the report correctly indicated that Senator Omogege, after saying what was perceived as offensive to the Senate, he stood up and apologized to the Senate. The Deputy Senate President was then the presiding officer. I recall vividly his comments. He said it was courageous of our colleague to apologize to us. I think it will even be more courageous for this Senate to accept the apology and warn finally our colleague not to have anything to do with those kind of statements. Mr. President, the main reason it appears to me for this recommendation of 181 days suspension is because he has gone to court. Mr. President, this is, to me, something that we would not like to happen. But when it happens that a member of this family went to court, maybe in desperation, thinking a drastic action will be taken against him, for me, I will suggest that he withdraws the court action and we don't suspend him. Mr. President, let's focus on making ourselves each other's keeper. One word I didn't like in this report is the word punish. We shouldn't be punishing ourselves. We should be correcting ourselves. In fact, we shouldn't be punishing people. We should be correcting people even when they are not members of this family. So finally, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to appeal, and genuinely so. Do you know our colleague who took the matter to the Ethics and Privileges because he felt it wasn't right? And all of us who felt slighted or offended in whatever way, including the going to the court by a colleague, please, let's bury the hatchet. Let's stand down this. We give him tomorrow. I don't know what the court processes are, but he should go and withdraw the court case, and then everybody goes home happy. This is my presentation and my appeal, because we still have a long journey to go together. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Kabir Marfa.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my well-respected colleagues. My name is Senator Kabir Marfa, and I represent the Central. Mr. President, I want to align myself totally with the submission of the leader. But I want to add, Mr. President, I have always said on this floor, I'm not a hypocrite, and I don't want to be one, and I don't want to die one. Mr. President, I will say it the way it is. Omo Agege, to me, has constitutional right to express his views the way and manner he feels so. But like the leader said, I think he has done something which to me deserves commendation. If somebody does what you cannot do, you need to commend him. He stood on the floor of this Senate to apologize, which to me is a very great thing, because I cannot do what he did. Before I do what he did, maybe I would think twice before saying what I said. Mr. President, but bad or good as that may be, Mr. President, I knew how we came into this chamber of the Earth Assembly, and I'm a player of all the politics of the beginning. Mr. President, I knew what each and every member of this Senate did during the politics of the leadership of this Senate. Mr. President, I don't want us to end the way we started. Like the leader said, a lot of us didn't want you to be Senate President. God says you are, and you became. Mr. President, while some of us were fighting at that time, some of us were lobbying to become chairman of committees. We knew it. What happened, happened. And we knew how we were all integrated to become a bigger family. Mr. President, much as I am against the suspension of any member, I feel it is unconstitutional, I think it should not be done. But I'm equally against the formation of any other group in this chamber. And for two reasons. Mr. President, the formation of the parliamentary support group is evil and it should not stand. Mr. President, it is counterproductive and it is against even the president himself. Mr. President, I think those are the causalities, those are the issues that is prompting all these things. When Omo Agege came, or the group came with the idea of supporting or disapproving the, the electoral sequence amendment, I signed for them. And I had my reasons for signing. Now, for whatever reasons, they lost the bill, the list, and another list was sent out. He came to me, and I told him that I'm not going to sign again. Why? Because I cannot follow somebody that would not chew his words properly before saying them and coming back to say he apologizes. I will not do so. But I am for the president. And when the chips are down, I'm going to vote with my conscience. But Mr. President, for somebody to now form another group, after what we have gone through before, and we now agreed here that from now on, after you implemented the party request, Mr. President, we said we are going to dissolve Unity Forum and we are going to dissolve Like Minds. And we did so, Mr. President. Now, for some people now to go back and say they are supporting president, even when they went vehemently against the president, and we know what some people did and what they are doing now. And Mr. President, now they go to the extent of placing adverts on newspapers. I don't know who they want to castigate. I don't care. Whatever I do, before I do it, I chew it, I consider it, and I do what I did with all my conscience. So for somebody to now say he is creating another group, the best title I have today is Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I don't want anybody to destroy this institution. So Mr. President, I want us to look at these things pari passu. I say, I agree with the leader, let Omo Adidi withdraw his case from the court. Let those people that formed this, whatever name they call it, let them dissolve it. And the president of this country, even if they don't, the president should tell them to dissolve it, because they are his greater enemies than even people that are not in the in what do you call it, in the group. Mr. President, we should not allow this, and we must stand up as a people to say, like the leader says, look, we are wrong here, let us close the doors and discuss these things. But to now say that there is a group that is supportive of president and another group against the president, I think that is satanic, it is evil, and it must not stand, Mr. President. I so submit. Thank you.
Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. You see, the wisdom of the framers of our Constitution, and of course those who drafted our rules, is just what has been exhibited on the floor of the Senate. Mr. President, every day that we have opportunity and privilege of being alive to assemble here, our prayer has always been, Almighty God, ruler of heaven and earth, we beseech you to inspire and guide all our actions and counsel, so that we may always walk in the path of justice, love, and charity to one another. And then we end it by saying, help us with thy grace to do only those things that will promote the unity, happiness, and prosperity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is the wisdom, sir. Ordinarily, as a leader, and maybe today it's important, Mr. President, that I convey this to the whip and then the leader. In other parliaments, leaders are not permitted to speak from where they are, because there are times when their sentiments will overrule the position that they hold. And therefore, we normally have one reserve chair where we can elect to go there and speak, so that we speak as normal senators with constituency, with everything. I don't want to say it. I have tried to resist saying it. But unfortunately, situations dictate that we put matters correctly. And it's important for the records. No senator in this chamber will accept the fact that the issue of electoral sequence emanated from the Senate. It was not part of our bill. It was not. When the matter first came up, that there is a version in the House of Representatives that is talking about election sequence, this preamble is very important, Mr. President. I hope you'll be patient with me. All of us in the leadership were in the meeting, and we were asked to canvass support from members of the House of Representatives so that we can jettison that provision. In the first place, Senator Adeye insisted that court has determined this matter. Nobody should bring this matter in that meeting. I remember. And then, when we came out, the Senate President told me, well, you say you have a lot of colleagues. Try and work this out. I had 3 meetings with members of the House of Representatives. One even at the airport. And I will mention name. One of the members, Honorable Gololo, said to me, leader, where were you when the entire country was abusing or saying that we were elected simply because of Mr. President? You didn't defend us. And in any case, the primary purpose of the insertion of this provision
was that we have a situation where we have an unstable democracy in the sense that once you elect a president, the bandwagon effect, everybody elect along that way, and therefore we continue to have one party oppressing the others. And we felt that if an election is done the other way around, we might be able to enrich the democratic structure. That was what, and I reported to you. So for anybody to come here and go and give press conference and say that the Senate has taken a position against Mr. President, it is the most uncharitable thing anybody can do. It does not befit his office as a senator. But happily enough, Senator Omoagege came here and had the courage to apologize over that statement. But it's much more than that. There are some sections in this country where you dare not talk against the president. And there are senators from that place. By implication is that he is putting the life of these senators at risk. I cannot be a leader here if I cannot protect each and every one of you. I have no business being your leader. Shut up, my friend. So, proceeding from that, sir, for anybody to have the privilege, of being elected as a senator, it is an obligation upon you to consider, reconsider, evaluate anything that is going to come out from your mouth. You must be very careful. Mr. President, if I have cause to fight you today, I will fight you. So for anybody to go there and be dividing the Senate and say this are pro-Salaki and this, I have not attended any meeting to be pro-Salaki. So the end result of what I'm trying to say is that I agree with what the leader has said. But somewhere along the line, I have found a convenient way of disagreeing with him. As a family, we must have discipline. And we must live discipline for this institution. And the only way we can do it is that people must not only be ready to bear the consequence of what they are saying, but that they must get what they are saying and the proper consequence of what they are saying. I came from a constituency where I had more than 40 calls from very prominent people. For 4 years of my life, I have stayed with Mr. President from everywhere, going with him before he became president. Some of those claiming to be for president only came and said they are pro him because he became president. They were not there before. And let me tell you what is even paining me. What is even paining me? Those, I don't know the name, I don't know, I have never attended any meeting. But those who are purporting to do this, they were in this chamber when we took a unanimous decision that we are not going to confirm any appointment from Mr. President. Where were they? Gentlemen, my distinguished colleagues, let's be honest, let's take our sentiment, let us look at this institution. We are all going to live here, whether we like it or not, either through death or whatever. But this institution will remain, and we must be very, very careful about it.
Distinguished colleagues, I know I will go and we'll talk about recommendation. But before then, if you permit me, the number of points that have been raised. One borders on the issue of this institution. To me, that is what I think is the most important thing for us. Second is where we take actions that are divisive and are not sincere. I think in this chamber, if we want to talk about who has the right to even say he is chairman of a parliamentary support group for Mr. President, both by action and by what we have done, I think I have the right to lead that than anybody else here. But those of us that understand the politics, that because of sometimes our own peculiar interest, we decide sometimes that we are holier than thou or more committed, but at the expense of others. That is not something we should tolerate. And I believe that in an institution like this, we must show that discipline. But at the same time, there must be compassion. I know you will not like that. Distinguished colleagues, my view all I can say is to say that there must be discipline. That is the only way where the leader, I agree, there must be. We must show that such group must be suspended. The case in court also must be withdrawn. And in consideration of that, we can look at leniency on what is being recommended. Distinguished colleagues, what that is, I'll put for you to make a recommendation going forward. I think by that we'll have captured one, no more of these kind of groups in this Senate. Two, the issue of court actions. Three, and to show that we are not in any hurry to take anybody away from this family. And four, we must lay example by showing that there is discipline and apply some form of discipline in this matter. If from this chair I can recommend, I would say that these issues that were put before us, maybe we should reduce the number of days and recommend at least half the number of days, but with an understanding that even after a while drawing there, we can revisit and look at this issue, because we must send a stronger message. Because some of us, as I say, there are some people who are fanatic. Sometimes such actions expose a lot of people in our lives, and this cannot be acceptable. This is what, if we will agree in the recommendation, we will say recommendation 1 is that the senator involved, Senator Agege, should withdraw the case. The support group should be disbanded. Number 3 is out of that compassion, we change the recommendation, amend the recommendation of the committee to 90 days, and we move forward. If we all agree, I'll put the question. Those in favor will say aye, and those against say nay. There is it. Distinguished colleagues, I hope we will not have to come to this sort of situation again at this point in this democratic process, and we can all take cue of this and move forward. I thank you so much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the presentation with...
Order, please. Order, please.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Niger Delta on the screening of the following persons for appointment as members of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. Number 1, Lucky Moremisa. I hear that you are non-executive director. Honorable Chuka Ama Nawa, non-executive director, Imo State. Unwogu N. Unwogu, non-executive director, Abia. The single senators will recall that the request was referred to the committee on Tuesday, the 11th of April 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Peter Wabushi, chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report. I so move.
And Senator Babakaka.
Vice Chair. Yes.
Oh, sorry, Chairman, I was waiting for him to second. Yeah, Senator Peter Wabushi.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, I don't know whether I've been overthrown. I don't know whether there's a palace school here.
You have been suspended.
Or are you people dealing with Delta State? Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Niger Delta on the screening of the nomination of the following persons for appointment as members of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. Mr. Lucky Amison Ayedatiwa, Honorable Chuka Ama Mwawa Anwogu Enwogu. I so move.
Senator Babakaka, Vice Chairman NDDC.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Babakaka Bashir Garbay. I represent Borno Central Senatorial District. I stand to second the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Niger Delta on the screening of the nomination of the following persons for appointment as members of the Niger Delta Development Commission. I so second.
Those in favor that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Niger Delta on the screening of the nomination of the following persons for appointment as members of Niger Delta Development Commission, DDC, Lucky Orimasan Yetediwa, Odo State, Honorable Chuka Wanua Imo, and Uwagu Abia. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. There is a go ahead, Senator Peter Wabushi. It's for consideration. Where are you going, Peter? Oh, receiver, yeah. Receiver and consider. Senator Peter Wabos, we are waiting for you.
Distinguished colleagues, the Senate may recall that the initial report of the Committee on the screening of presidential nominees for the Governing Board of Niger Delta Development Commission was considered on the 6th of October 2016 and the nominees confirmed as recommended. In the committee's report, the Senate may further recall that nominees for Imo, Abia, and Ondo states were not recommended for confirmation, but because they were indigenous of non-oil producing areas and their nomination was a breach of Section 2(1)(b) of the NDDC Establishment Act 2000. Also, note that at its sitting on the 11th of April 2017, the Senate considered another request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on the confirmation of the nomination of the following persons for appointment as members of the Governing Board of Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, to replace those who were not recommended for nomination, namely Honorable Lucky Ama Mwowa, representing Imo, Honorable Chuka Ama Mwowa, representing Imo, Lucky Amisa Ayedatiwa, representing Ondos, and Nwogu, representing Abia. I refer same to each committee on Niger Delta for further legislative action. The committee met and screened the nominees, but put its report on hold in line with the resolution of the Senate regarding the confirmation of nominations at that time. After due consultation with the leadership of the Senate, given that Mr. President has forwarded the above-mentioned names before the resolution of the Senate on the confirmation exercises, the committee wishes to put its report on the screening of the nominees. Mr. President, I want to emphasize that the screening of these candidates was because the names were forwarded before the Senate took its decision. And so it is not a breach of the resolution of the Senate on the confirmation of nominees forwarded by Mr. President. Because this morning, a lot of colleagues have confronted me to ask why are we still doing the confirmation after we have taken the decision of the Senate. These particular nominees were forwarded before we took that resolution, but they were victims of the resolution, but we felt that it is proper that we do not punish them for what for that resolution. So I would like to put that one on record. Findings. I want to go straight to findings. Considering the fact that nominees are indigenous of oil-producing areas, which was the principal reason why the Senate disqualified the other three nominees. We disqualified, in fact, two of them were disqualified, Mr. President. One withdrew, a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because he understands the politics of the Senate and because he's a respected Nigerian, he decided on his own to withdraw his nomination because he feels, and he's very rightly, of course, that he's not from the oil-producing area of Imo State. And the other two nominees were disqualified because they are not from the oil-producing areas of their various states. So after considering the report, in view of the foregoing, Mr. President, the committee wishes to recommend the following nominees for confirmation. I just want to go to our recommendation, Mr. President. Having said why we disqualify the other two, Honorable Chuka Ama Nwowa, a member representing Imo State on the governing board of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. Mr. Lucky Amison Ayed Detiwa, as member representing Ondo State in the governing board of Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. And Nwogo, as member representing Abia State on the governing board of NDDC. That the Congress do consider the report of the committee and approve its recommendation. I so move, Mr. President.
Any comments? If not, leader, move for Good Result Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I second the motion that we resolve into a Committee of the Whole for consideration of this report.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, if there are no comments, or let's go straight to, I'll put the question then. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Honorable Chuka Ama Nwowa as member of the Niger Delta Development Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Lucky Orimasan Oyetitiwa as member of the Niger Delta Development Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Nwogo as member of the Niger Delta Development Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse plenary for the charter report progress.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, may I second that we revert to plenary to report progress.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Niger Delta on the screening of Mr. President's nominees for appointment as members of the Niger Delta Development Commission and approve the nominations of 1. Lucky Orimasan Oyatitewa, Non-Executive Director, Ondo State, Honorable Chuka Ama Wanwa, Honorable Non-Executive Director, Imo, and Nwogu Non-Executive Abia as members of Niger Delta Commission. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Will the Senate approve the nomination of Lucky Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Lucky Orimasa Ayedatiwa as member of the Niger Delta Development Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Lucky Orimasa Ayedatiwa is hereby confirmed as a member of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Honorable Chuka Ama Wanwa as member of the Niger Delta Development Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination Honorable Chuka Ama Wanwa is hereby confirmed as a member of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Nwogu as member of the Niger Delta Development Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Nwogu is hereby confirmed as a member of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Let me, on behalf of the Senate, congratulate the 3 new members of the Niger Delta Commission. I wish them a successful tenure and hope they use the period to their contribution to their community and to their constituencies. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act Cap 17 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Thursday, the 29th of March 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Sabo Mohammed to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Sabo Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I remain Senator Sabo Mohammed, representing Jigawa Southwest. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do consider the report on the Committee of Trade and Investment on Industrial Income Tax Development Relief Act, CAP 17 LFN 2004 bill. I so move.
Senator Samayaw.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Sam, and I represent Imo East in Imo State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleague Senator Sabo Mohammed that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act Cap 17 LFN 2004 Bill 2018 SB 638. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act Cap 17 LFN 2004 Bill 2018 SB 638. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Senator Sabo Mohammed, can you take us through?
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, you may recall that the bill was introduced and the first reading was taken in this hollow chamber on the 13th of March 2018. The bill was read the second time on 22nd March and referred to the Committee on Trade and Investment. Mr. President, the bill seeks to amend the Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act, Cap 17 laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. The bill has 6 clauses. The amendment of the bill seeks to address some of the deficiencies in the Principal Act by creating a more robust legislative framework to assist the Nigeria Investment Promotion Council Commission to perform its duties effectively and efficiently. It is as a result of this, my respected colleagues, that this amendment is being proposed for our country to benefit maximally from the huge investment opportunities. The objective of the Industrial Development Act, Income Tax Relief, laws of the Federation of Nigeria, is a tax relief that attracts investors to the nation. The committee strongly recommends 6 clauses as contained in the details attached. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the committee led by my humble self would like to use this opportunity to thank the Senate for giving the members the opportunity to serve. Thank you very much.
Any comments? If not, Leader of the Senate for a motion to Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, may I now move that the Senate do resolve in the Committee of the Whole to consider the report. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second that the Senate do resolve in the Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, there are 26 clauses. Most of them are retained, so I'm going to move. Those in favor that clause Clause 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 2 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We'll now go to clause 6 on page 17. Yes? Page 17, clause 6. Those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, let me just corrected. Page 17, that was clause 4, not clause 6, okay? So we'll now go to page 21, 22, which is interpretation, which is clause 5, not clause 25. So those in favor that clause 5 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6, short title, on page 23. Those in favor that short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate. 24, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's Chairman, confirm that's the typo. Speech. Secretary, take note of that. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, I move that the Senate do revert back to plenary to report progress and call upon the acting leader of the minority party that is dying to support this motion, sir.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion, ably moved by the leader. So second.
You didn't qualify who is seconding it. You were quiet on that. Those in favor of the motion, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate, in the committee of the whole, consider the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act, Cap 17, LFN 2004, Bill 2018, clauses 1 to 5 as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Leader of the Senate.
Which colleagues? The fifth order of the day is a consideration.
No. We have to pass it third time. Third reading.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, I now move that the bill be read the third time.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be now read a third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill read third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act Cap 17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for other related matters 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act, Cap 17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for other related matters 2018, third reading and passed. I thank the committee. I believe that this bill will help to enhance the effectiveness of the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission and continue to make the Nigeria economy a viable and a place for investment. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleague, the fifth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the ad hoc committee on the investigation of arrest episode of Tuesday, the 21st day of November 2017, between officers of EFCC, NIA, and DSS. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, you will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, the 28th day of March 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Francis Alemehena to move the motion for the Senate to consider the report of the committee.
Senator Francis Alemehena.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Francis Alemehena, representing the good people of Edo North. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do consider the report on the ad hoc committee on investigation of arrest episode of Tuesday, 21st November 2017, among officers of Economic and Financial Crime Commission, Nigeria Intelligence Agency, and the Directorate of State Security Service. I so move.
Senator Lau.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, my name is La Denjuma, President Kaduna South. I rise to second the motion raised by my brother. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the ad hoc committee investigation of arrest episodes of Tuesday, 21st November 2017 between officers of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Nigeria Intelligence Agency, and Directorate of State Security Services. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Ali, Francis Ali, can I present your report?
Thank you, Mr. President. On Wednesday, 22nd November 2017, the attention of the Senate was drawn to the arrest episode of Tuesday, 21st November 2017, among the officers of Economic and Financial Crime Commission, EFCC, Nigeria Intelligence Agency, NIA, and Directorate of State Security, DSS. The open altercation arose from an attempt by the EFCC official to arrest Mr. Ayodele Oke, former Director General of NIA, and Mr. Ita Ekpenyong, former Director General of DSS, and the consequent resistance of NIA and DSS officers guiding their former principals. This development, which was widely reported in the social, print, and electronic media, was considered embarrassing. Accordingly, the Senate resolved to constitute an ad hoc committee to investigate the matter and report within 2 weeks. Members of the committees are on page 2. The submission of the committee on page 3, 4, and the evidence and appendix on page 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then appendix and evidence on page 10 as well in your folder. And 11. I go straight to 414, the National Security Advisor. The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana M. Magoro, retired, appeared before the committee to give oral testimony on Tuesday, 6 February 2018. The highlights of the submissions by the NSA were as follows on page 12 and 13. Then we go to 5.1, the challenges. The acting chairman of the EFCC was directed by the committee to forward evidence, if any, that he had informed higher authority, that is the National Security Advisor, the Attorney General of the Federation, or the President, about the lack of cooperation on the side of NIA and DSS. The evidence was not forwarded by the acting chairman of EFCC. This would have also guided the committee in taking decision for the resolution of the conflict. Observation. 1. There exists an acrimony between the chief executive officers of these security agencies. This was noticed from the outset of the investigation, leading the committee to conduct the hearings in camera as well as holding separate meetings with the security agency. This lack of cooperation and cohesion is reflected at a secondary level, with AFCC and NSA belonging to one group and NIA and DSSC belong to another group. Accordingly, the principle of esprit de corps appears to be lost between these two groups. 3. The failure of the Office of the National Security Advisor to act on the letter by the Director General DSSC dated 25th July 2017 by implication amounted to failure to discharge its statutory responsibility as contained in Section 4 of the National Security Agency Act, Cap 74, Law of Federation 2004. 4. Although the EFCC acted within the ambit of the law by obtaining all the relevant search warrants from the court of law, the Commission failed to obtain authorization from the NSA or the President in accordance with Section 4 of the National Security Agency Act, Cap 74, Law of Federation 2004, before obtaining the search warrant. Recommendations. In light of the foregoing, the committee recommends as follows. 1. That the EFCC, when dealing with sister agencies that are clandestine in nature, must conduct its activities within minimal publicity in order to retain the integrity of the institutions. Public altercation as witnessed between these agencies must not be allowed to repeat itself. 2. The President and Commander-in-Chief should investigate the matter with a view to ensuring that the inter-agency rivalry or public exhibition of envy is avoided at all costs. 3. Although there is no institution or individual that is above the law or immune from investigation, however, the security agency must be properly guided against blanket investigation, as this can jeopardize our security operations and bring our country into disrepute both locally and internationally. 4. The National Assembly should initiate the amendment of National Security Agency Act, Cap 74, Law of Federation 2010, with a view to giving powers of control to the coordinator of national security over this agency on behalf of Mr. President. 5. The search and arrest operation that may be conducted in the future on this agency must be first have the presidential approval. It must be done in a discreet manner rather than in a full public glare. Our appreciation. The committee appreciates Mr. President, the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the opportunity to serve in this committee. It is our hope that this recommendation will go a long way in achieving interagency cooperation for the interest of our great country. I so move.
Any contributions before I go to the recommendations? Yes, Mr.
President, I stand as Senator Shehu Sani. The report of the committee, of which I was part of, clearly defines and states the problems of security and interagency issues in this country. It's very clear that we are faced with serious security challenge. But you see security agencies that are supposed to work together for the safety and peace of the country, engaging at each other. This country has suffered enough bloodshed, mindless killings from all parts of the country, from Boko Haram in the northeast to herdsmen in the north central, and to parts of Kaduna State, Niger, Zamfara, and everywhere. You expect, ideally, to have security agencies that will be conscious of this, the need for them to work together for the betterment of this country. But I've seen this rivalry as more of political interference from the executive side on issues of security, rather than confront a common danger that all arms of security should work together to achieve. You see them competing at each other and undoing each other. But not only that, personalities that man such agencies seems to be involved at fighting against each other. And at the end of the day, the criminals, the violence, the killings continue. My problem with this is that if we as a parliament don't step into this with a very strong resolve, this problem is bound to continue. For how long should we have this kind of killings going on? And security agencies are not interested in working together to address our common problem. I think if there is any one single important objective, mission and goal of a government, is to see you leave behind a country
that is at peace with itself, united, and then one which people can live with each other. But we have seen over the years the deterioration of relationship between these arms of government. And we have reached a very point that what security agencies are more involved and interested in is how they can pursue individuals and pursue political cases rather than work together to address common security challenges we all face as a nation. So as far as I'm concerned, I believe that the recommendation of this committee, if taken very seriously by this government, will address some of these problems. And the whole box stops on the table of Mr. President himself as the Commander-in-Chief. All security agencies are within his purview and within his authority and within his ambit. It is him alone that will sit these security agencies down and tell them, sound a clear warning, read the Riot Act, that you need to work together, that we can have peace. If we don't have peace in this country, all our ambitions, our workings for 2019 for elections is not going to make any sense. So I believe this recommendation is a roadmap to having security agencies that will work together for the peace, for the unity, and also for progress of our country. Thank you very much.
Yes, Senator Dino Milai.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, Dino Milai, E. West. Mr. President, I was the mover of this motion that led to this, the setting up of this committee. And I want to say that I am exceptionally grateful to this committee because the recommendations here are not only far-reaching, but if implemented with every sincerity of purpose, of heart and commitment, it may, at the end of the day, solve our problems. Mr. President, the truth have no volume. The truth is the truth. And I want to speak the truth for 1 minute. Mr. President, there is international embarrassment as a result of the discordant tunes being sung by different security agencies in this country. Politicians can have varying disagreements. Members of different political parties can have disagreements politically and otherwise. But it is sacrilegious, it is abominable, it is unacceptable, it is disastrous for sister security agencies to be at war with each other. Mr. President, as I speak today, we all know that there is no cordial relationship between the DSS and the EFCC. There is no cordial relationship between the National Security Advisor and the DSS. If there's anything at all, they are at war against each other. And the deliberations during this investigation reveal that it is far deeper than we even read on the pages of newspapers. Mr. President, the negative concomitant effect is the insecurity we have in this country. The problem of herdsmen, the problem of killings, the problem of kidnapping, the problem of terrorism can never be resolved, will never be resolved. We are deceiving ourselves. Except there is cohesion, there is cooperation, there is integration among these sister security agencies. Now, we are talking of $1 billion to fight Boko Haram. Mr. President, with the crisis on ground, even the sharing of this money among sister agencies is going to be a problem. So I want to say that this Senate will not just pass this recommendation in our customary manner to the presidency or the executive. We must also set up a compliance department to make sure that the Senate, the President of the Senate is personally involved in the implementation of these recommendations by periodically assessing the level of implementation by the relevant agencies as recommended. Mr. President, this country, the Senate have conducted a national security summit. Far-reaching, viable recommendations reached. All this, at the end of the day, Mr. President, would be a beautiful nonsense if there is still rift between our major security agencies. NSA versus DSS, DSS versus EFCC, EFCC versus Attorney General of the Federation. Mr. President, these have a negative resultant effect on the security architecture of the country. It's a matter that we must take very seriously, and I thank the committee again for a well-detailed report and recommendation, but please, the implementation is more important for the survival of our security in this country. I want to thank Mr. President for the opportunity.
Senator Porker.
Mr. President, Senator Porker Emmanuel is my name, Bayelsa Central. I speak in line with my colleagues that have spoken earlier. Mr. President, frankly speaking, we come here almost every day talking about insecurity in this country. Mr. President, recall just this morning, we are talking about armed robbery in Kwara State, where 5 banks were looted. If the police station was attacked, no person mentioned the DSS. So it could have been the place of the DSS, maybe to have sent information to other security agents. But this did not happen, just because of some of these reasons. Mr. President, I'm more worried. Even when you go down the ladder to recommendation 4, we are trying to say, let us anchor the coordination of all these security agencies under the office of the NSA. But here is a situation where the NSA office is equally involved. And to me, it's just personally clash. It's not the institution itself. And one thing we must realize is that individuals will come and head institutions and go, but the institutions will remain. So, Mr. President, like the last speaker was saying that you should take, you should get involved in the implementation. Definitely, Mr. President is here. The President is here to control, to supervise. Generally, the office of the NSA, that of the DSS, NIA, and the rest. It behoves on the commander-in-chief, actually, to see that this agency works effectively and cooperatively so that the security challenges of this country can be fully addressed. Unless they work together, unless intelligence are shared among these sister agencies, we cannot achieve security, solving a security problem. So, Mr. President, I join others in thanking the committee in doing this in-depth work. But it goes beyond that. The executive should sit up because of what we are having in the security sphere of our country, that they should take whatever recommendation this House will come up with very seriously and get them implemented. I thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Foster Okala.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is no need repeating commending the committee for the good job they have done. I'm in support of all the recommendations but one. And that one is an additional recommendation by Senator Dino that the President of the Senate should be involved. That's what you did. So, Mr. President, I want to caution that this Senate should remain an independent arbiter. Should not be directly involved or involve our President of the Senate in day-to-day operation or supervising the implementation. Always be on your own and let the Senate be on our own, that we should have the confidence of the public to now always intervene when there is crisis. So that is just the point I wanted to correct, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, if there are no other comments. We'll go to the rep. Oh, sorry, Senator Joshua Lidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Joshua Lidani, representing Gombe South. The phenomenon that we are dealing with is a very worrisome one, because it has been recurring time and time again. We only remember recently when, during the Security Summit organized by the Senate, the DSS publicly accused the security agencies, that is the army and the police, of using the weapons. No, it was a public issue. He said that most of the weapons that are found in the hands of herdsmen and other criminal gangs came from police and army armories. He said so. So I think it's a recurring decimal. We all know what happened during the screening of the EFCC chairman too. So these discordant tunes among the security agencies is creating problem, and it's creating an image problem for the country. It means rather than cooperating with each other, they are trying to undermine each other. Rather than liaising with each other, they are competing with each other. And I think the problem lies not with them or with the office of the NSA, who should be coordinating these things. I think the buck stops on the desk of the president, who should have wielded the big stick. If any of the security heads has gone out of line, he should have wielded the big stick and brought him into line. There's nobody, no other authority that can do that except the president. So I think the president has a duty to ensure that these agencies cooperate with each other. They should have a forum whereby they have a joint briefing on intelligence matters, because if they don't share intelligence, it also affects their performance. So I think, Mr. President, while agreeing that the committee has done a very good job, I think we should also realize the fact that Mr. President has a duty to wield the big stick on any erring public officer. Thank you, Mr. President.
So we will go to the recommendations. Recommendation 1, that the EFCC, when dealing with sister companies that are clandestine in nature, must conduct its activities with minimal publicity in order to retain the integrity of the institutions. Public altercations as witnessed between these agencies must not be allowed to repeat itself. Those in favor of recommendation 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 2, the President and Commander-in-Chief should investigate the matter with a view to ensuring that interagency rivalry or public exhibition of envy is avoided at all costs. Those in favor of recommendation 2 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 3, although there is no institution or individual that is above the law or immune from investigation, however, discredited agencies must be properly guided against blanket investigations, as this can jeopardize our security operations and bring our country into disrepute both locally and internationally. Those in favor of recommendation 3 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Recommendation 4. Chairman, this recommendation 4 that National Assembly should initiate an amendment of the National Security Agency Act Cap N7 for LFN 2010 with a view to giving powers of control to the coordinator on national security. But presently, the law does not give powers to any coordinator. Is that what's okay?
The law did not even give the coordinator the power to monitor other agencies. So it's just blank. That's why the NSA said they cannot act, they cannot check any of the sister agencies when they are going astray, because the law is blank.
But from your findings, was there also so there's no even regular meetings and engagements among them? Okay. All right, let's put the question. National Assembly should initiate the amendment of National Security Agency Act Cap N74 LFN 2010 with a view to giving powers of control to the coordinator on national security over these agencies on behalf of the President. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The search and arrest operation that must be conducted in future on these agencies must first have the presidential approval. It must be done in a discreet manner rather than in public, full public glare. Those in favor of recommendation 5 say aye. Those against say nay. Any additional prayer? Yes, Senator Dino Milai.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, Dino Milai, Kogi West. Mr. President, if we want to be sincere with ourselves, these problems with these security agencies, no other person has capacity to solve them than the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Let us be very sincere and objective. And as long as we continue, or the presidency continue to keep silent on these issues, there is no amount of panels, committees that can resolve it. So this Senate need to urge Mr. President to immediately intervene as the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces in this interagency rivalry. If not, every recommendation we'll be making, sir, we are going to be wasting our time. I don't know if it is permissible by practice, but the Senate, as a matter of recommendation, need to urge Mr. President to intervene in this inter-rivalry of the agency, because no other person, no other committee or panel have the capacity to call them to order, because ab initio, the NSA, the DGSSS, the DGNIA, the Attorney General of the Federation, and EFCC chairman are all personal appointees of Mr. President.
But if that's the case, if you look at recommendation 2, unless what we should have done then is just gone for an amendment of recommendation. Let me read it to you. It says the President and Commander-in-Chief should investigate the matter with a view to ensuring that inter-agency rivalry or public exhibition of envy is avoided at all costs, and maybe what should wanted to say, and intervene in resolving such. No, I'm saying that we have already passed prayer 2, so it's either, that's what I'm saying, that we just amend prayer 2 and say both investigate and intervene in resolving such conflicts. Yeah, leader.
Investigate there. Once we say intervene, that is sufficient.
So can we just amend? So Dino, come with amendment then.
There's correction. There's no correction in our rules. It's not a community service. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, recommendation 2 as amended reads, we urge Mr. President to intervene in the inter-rivalry in the rivalry between sister security agencies in the country.
So the amendment is that President and Commander should intervene in the interagency rivalry that exists amongst our security agencies. I think that's, yeah, seconded by First Order. Those in favor of prayer 2 as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I want to join all in thanking the committee for this good report. And as everybody has contributed, it is not in the interest of the security of the country for us to see this kind of unhealthy inter-rivalry agencies. These are agencies that need each other in order, and today we've all seen how the issue of our security is really of great concern. So we want to charge these agencies, pending the intervention of Mr. President. They themselves, as professionals, they should be able to rise above whatever their individual differences are to ensure that. And then on our own part as well, we must, as security intelligence agencies, should look at some of these laws that we need to ensure that we improve on the coordination of our all our security agencies. I thank the committee for this job. Well done. Leader of the Senate.
Brief. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters on the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria, Establishment Etc. Bill 2018. The single senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Tuesday, the 30th of January 2018. Mr. President, I wish to invite Senator Emmanuel Walker, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Polka.
There is report. That the Senate will consider
the report of a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria Establishment, etc. Bill 2017 SB 424. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Gobri.
Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, my name is Brian Gobri. I hereby second that a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors, Establishment, ETC, Bill 2017 SB 424, be taken. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service on Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria, establishing a central bill 2018 SB 424. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Porker, present the report, please.
Yes. Mr. President, report on the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service on the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria and for related matters. The Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2017 SB 42 was sponsored by distinguished Senator Ike Kuremando, Deputy Senate President. The bill was read for the first time at the floor of the Senate on Tuesday, 7th March 2017. The Senate at its plenary sitting of Wednesday, 4th October 2017, deliberated on general principles of the bill. After extensive deliberation, the bill was read the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service for further legislative action via Senate Order of Referral dated 5th October 2017 to report back its recommendation. Mr. President, let me go straight to highlight on some of the clauses of the bill as is on page 8 of 12. In this part, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we shall highlight some of the amendments, further inputs made on the provision of the bill, which reflect some of the salient views, suggestions of stakeholders during the public hearing. We hereby recommend the proposed changes to the distinguished Senate for approval as follows. Long title, the committee drafted the long title bill to certainly reflect the intent and the purport of the bill, which is to establish a chartered institute to provide the laudable objective and function highlighted in the provision of the bill and not to set up a regulatory professional body. That is reflected in clause 2, clause 4, clause 7, clause 8, and clause 37, and the second schedule. Mr. President, I go straight to the recommendation that the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service, to which the bill was referred, having carefully considered the same, recommend as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria Establishment, etc. Bill 2017 as amended. In conclusion, I wish to use this opportunity to thank the President of the Senate and the distinguished colleague for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to humbly request the Senate to pass this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
If there are no comments, leader, move a motion to resolve committee of the whole.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate go into committee of the whole to consider the report clause by clause.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we go into committee of the whole to consider this report clause by clause.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, there are 40 clauses, but since most of them are retained, I will move swiftly through the report. Those in favor that clause 1 to 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 11 to 20 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 21 to 30 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 31 to 34 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 35 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 36 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 38, 37 and 38 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 39 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that schedule 1 and 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title clause 40 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 36 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse plenary for discharge and report progress.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we move back to plenary to report progress as to second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters on the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 39 as recommended, Schedules 1 and 2 as recommended, Explanatory Memorandum as recommended, Short title as recommended, Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that we stand down the...
We have to third reading.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read at that time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be now read a third time as so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the bill be read third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria to provide professional training to directors in the public and private sectors and to promote effective governance, public accountability, and professional efficiency in administering the public and private sectors in Nigeria and for related matters 2018, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria to provide professional training to directors in the public and private sectors and to promote effective governance, public accountability, and professional efficiency in administering the public and private sectors in Nigeria and for related matters 2013 is ready third time and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that we stand down the remaining items on the order paper till another legislature.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we do stand and all other items on the order paper to another legislative day. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we stand down other items on the order paper to another legislative day say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I move that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, the 17th of April, 2018 at 10 a.m. prompt.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do now adjourn to Tuesday, the 17th of April, 2018. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, before I put the question, let me just announcement of some conference committees. 4 committees 4 bills. National Transport Commission Bill. The proposed conference committee members, Senator Gbenga Shafa, Marwa Gershom Bassi, Senator Gamade, Senator Mohammed Hassan, and Senator Kabir Gaya. Nigeria Football Federation Bill, Senator Bina Ogba, Magnus Abe, Abdul Fattah Buhari, Dino Melai, Shehu Sani, and Suleiman Nazif. Witness Protection Program Bill, Senator David Umuru, Goswell Apabio, Senator Nala, Senator Fatima Raji Razaki, Sam Ayaw, and Senator Issa Misal. And finally, the Federal Roads Authority Bill, Senator Kabir Gaya, Senator Victor Ome, Senator Basi Albert, David Umuru, Senator Ademola Adeleke, and Senator Abukari. Please, members, ensure you meet with your counterparts in the House of Representatives. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate should adjourn now to Tuesday, 17 April, 10 a.m. prompt. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is accordingly adjourned to Tuesday, 17 April 2018 at 10 a.m. prompt.